Chosen one. There are moments in life when heaven decides to intervene, and when that time comes, no human force can stop what has already been decreed. This message reaching you today is not a coincidence. It's a calling, a warning, an awakening. The final hour approaches, and with it, the justice that heaven has prepared against everything and everyone who tried to destroy you in silence. For a long time, you walked down paths filled with thorns not laid by strangers, but by people who knew exactly how to wound you, people who smiled in front of you but silently wished for your downfall, people who mistook your patience for weakness, who tested your limits, mocked your integrity, and abused your kindness, as if there would never be consequences. But now, the harvest is coming. And it won't be you who strikes back. It's the universe itself, it's God who is settling every account. No, this is not about revenge. It's about balance. It's about the return of everything that was thrown at you with destructive intent. Because no one mocks the light without being blinded by it. And no one tries to block a chosen one without touching the sacred. You didn't have to shout. You didn't have to defend yourself. You stood firm. Even while bleeding, you kept going. Even in silence, you kept shining. And now, without making noise, you will be lifted up. Heaven saw every injustice, every betrayal, every attempt to manipulate your path. And now, those who tried to delay you will witness your rise unfiltered, unedited, undeniable. This is the moment when those who mocked you will face the seeds they planted, and you don't need to do a thing. Just keep your peace, because what is about to happen won't be small nor subtle. It will be the beginning of the turning point, the one that changes everything. If this word resonates with what you've been feeling in silence, comment 777 below. That number is the spiritual seal of those who understand that God's justice never fails, it simply waits for the appointed time. And if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, subscribe now to keep receiving messages that confirm what heaven is already showing you on the inside. You were never forgotten. You were preserved for this exact moment. Chosen one, there comes a point in the walk where the need to respond dissolves. Not because you've lost your voice, but because you've understood that your voice is heard on another frequency. The silence of the chosen is not omission, it is authority. It is the mute cry of someone who no longer needs to prove anything to anyone, because those who are do not fight for space. Those who carry light do not chase spotlights. For a long time, you felt the urge to justify yourself, to explain the truth, to expose those who twisted facts, who spread lies, who tried to paint you in shades of doubt. But there came a moment, perhaps a recent one, when something inside you changed. A moment when you simply stopped. You stopped chasing understanding. You stopped exhausting yourself trying to be understood by those who always chose to misinterpret you. And that's when the turning point began. Your silence began to disturb more than any answer. Your absence spoke louder than any argument. Your indifference in the face of provocation became the proof that you evolved. Because spiritual maturity is not measured by how much you shout, but by the firmness with which you choose not to react. The silence of the chosen is an invisible fence that separates what no longer deserves access, and those who once fed off your reaction now face their own emptiness. Because while you were rising in secret, they were betting on your downfall. While you were healing in silence, they were celebrating your fall, and now they don't know how to deal with your absence. You didn't disappear, you just left the level where the war was taking place. And that, for the chosen, is growth. You no longer need to win an argument once you've overcome the need to be understood. You no longer need to respond when your life becomes the evidence itself. Remain silent, but positioned. Because your silence is echoing in the spiritual realm, and those who once mocked your stillness will soon witness the sound of your ascension. Chosen one, There are wounds that no explanation can heal. There are betrayals that no apology can fix. And there is pain so deep that not even all the recognition in the world would be able to erase it. But there is something that stands above all of that: divine justice, and it does not depend on earthly trials to be fulfilled. Many times you thought you needed a conversation, a retraction, a truth revealed. You believed that if you could just hear a "forgive me," your heart would be at peace. But reality was harsh. That repair never came. And perhaps it never will. Because there are people who hurt and move on, who lie and continue, who destroy and never return to fix what they broke. But God saw everything. Heaven recorded every detail. Not one of your tears fell to the ground without purpose. Not one sigh of exhaustion went unnoticed. Not one prayer uttered in the dark was ignored. And now, the time of response has arrived. Not the response you wanted from men, but the one only God can give. You don't need revenge. You don't need to confront anyone, because your peace is no longer conditioned on the conscience of those who hurt you. Your soul has found rest not through reparation, but through liberation. And that's what most frightens those who tried to break you. You stood back up without their apology. The greatest proof of spiritual strength is moving forward without closure. It is smiling without validation. It is prospering without applause. It is winning even when no one recognizes how much injustice you endured. Heaven's justice is silent, but precise, and when it arrives, no one can stop it. You will be justified not by words, but by evidence. And those who try to rewrite your story with lies will have to watch you live a truth that no one can deny. You were protected all along. There is an invisible order sustaining everything that happens in this world. Nothing escapes the cycle of what is sown and what is reaped. And even if it seems delayed, unjust, or silent, the return always comes. What was planted returns. And if it was injustice, manipulation, sabotage, or cruelty against a chosen one, the return is not only certain, it is unavoidable. You were the target of strategies that did not come from chance. Traps were set with precision, words were twisted coldly, and your reputation was put on trial with no right to defense. Yet, still, you stayed. You did not react with the same weapons. You did not respond on the same level. You chose to continue, and that activated something few can understand: the silent justice of heaven. The law of return does not need your strength to function. It needs your integrity. And you kept yours. You were not corrupted by hatred. You didn't feed desires for revenge. You didn't dive into the chaos they created to break you. And for that reason, this law is now working in your favor. The same ones who tried to bury your name will see you bloom. Those who spread poison with words will taste the bitter fruit of their own actions. And you will be exalted not as one who takes revenge, but as one who perseveres, because God does not allow the seed of the righteous to be forgotten. And the harvest that comes to those who sow good always comes in double portion. There are movements happening that you don't see yet. People being confronted in dreams, being unmasked by their own actions, facing consequences you didn't need to impose. Heaven is handling it. This is not about karma. It is about divine justice. It is about spiritual correction. It is about restored honor. Be at peace. What was thrown against you is returning, but not to you. It is returning to the one who sent it. And it is coming back with weight, because it touched someone who should never have been touched. A chosen one, protected by the Most High. Chosen one. Have you noticed that often the most intense attacks came when you were at peace? When your soul began to bloom, when your light started becoming visible, when you were finally finding balance, it was exactly then that the arrows came. This is no coincidence, it's revelation. You were attacked not because of your mistakes, but because of your essence. It wasn't your weakness that bothered them, it was your strength. Your presence carried an authority many couldn't explain, and that's why they tried to extinguish it. Your spiritual independence, your silence that commanded respect, your truth that disturbed environments built on lies, all of this made you a target. But listen, the attack was not proof that you were weak. It was a sign that you carried something that couldn't be manipulated. And people who live to control will always go to war against what they cannot dominate. You were the mirror that exposed what others refused to see in themselves. That's why they were bothered. That's why the criticism, the sideways glances, the fake smiles, the poisonous words said as if just joking, all to try to confuse you, silence you, diminish you. But none of it worked, because what you carry does not come from applause. It comes from the source. It comes from presence. It comes from heaven. Now you understand. The attack was confirmation. You weren't rejected because you had little. You were rejected because you carry much. And those who cannot stand the light will always try to extinguish what they don't understand. So do not shrink back. Do not hide. Do not retreat. Keep shining even if it hurts those who refuse to see. Comment below now. My light bothers them, but I was called to shine. That is your act of affirmation, a conscious choice to no longer hide what God placed inside you. It's curious how time reveals what words tried to hide. For a long time, people used your vulnerability as an excuse to belittle you. They twisted your intentions, mocked your process, called exaggeration what for you was survival. They made jokes about your pain, reduced your dreams, distorted your journey. But now, they will have to watch what you've become. Not because you want to prove anything, but because growth is inevitable for those who are called. And make no mistake, those who tried to block your progress will be exactly where they need to be as witnesses. They won't be able to ignore your elevation because it will be too visible, too evident, too silently powerful to be hidden. Those who once called you dramatic will now use your name as a reference. Those who laughed at your ideas will now try to imitate them. Those who said you couldn't do it will now have to face the fact that you went beyond. And you know what's most powerful? You won't have to say a word. Your growth will be the answer. Your peace will be the greatest contrast to the chaos they continue to feed. Your presence, now steady and firm, will be a reminder that no one can extinguish what was lit by heaven itself. But pay attention. This growth is not a comeback. It's a testimony. Your progress will confront consciences, not to hurt them, but to show that what God starts, He finishes. And what He plants flourishes even in hostile soil. You didn't grow by luck. You grew because you endured. Because you didn't give up in the middle of the pain. And now, those who persecuted you will see that what you endured prepared you. Chosen one, there are seasons when God hides you. He allows you to disappear from people's view, not as punishment, but as protection. He keeps you in anonymity while He works in the invisible, shaping your roots, strengthening your interior, healing what needed to be healed far from the noise. But that time has passed. Now comes the time of revelation, and it will not be discreet. You were refined in silence, but your elevation will be seen. You were wounded in public, and now you will be honored the same way. What happened between you and God in secret is about to become visible to everyone who doubted not as a spectacle, but as a testimony. Because the exaltation of the chosen is not about vanity. It's about spiritual justice. Those who mocked your waiting will see what it means to be sustained by heaven. Those who called your faith an illusion will see what fulfilled promise looks like. Those who said you weren't capable will have to acknowledge that you were called. And the most beautiful part is that you won't need to change your tone or force any scene. Your new phase will arrive naturally. People will notice the difference in your eyes, in your speech, in your posture. And they will know this didn't come from human effort. This was divine intervention. You didn't ask for a stage. You asked for purpose. And now, because you've carried that purpose faithfully, God is placing you in a position where your story will inspire, heal, and transform. What once was pain will now be authority. What was silence will now be a sign. What was hidden will now be exalted. Get ready. What God will do through you will be so clear, not even your enemies will be able to deny it. Chosen one, for a long time, you were the emotional anchor for people who didn't know how to manage their own instability. They came to you not out of genuine love, but because they knew you would listen, care, and hold them up. And even when they hurt you, you stayed. You carried the weight, absorbed the pain, gave more than you received. But now, that's over. Your silence, once tolerated, now bothers them. Your absence, once underestimated, now weighs heavy. Because the truth is, many only realized how much they depended on you when you stopped responding, when you stopped explaining yourself, stopped always being available, when you broke the cycle, when you chose peace over confusion. These people were not seeking reconciliation, they were seeking control. They didn't want truth, they wanted access. They didn't care about you, they fed off your energy. And when you pulled back, their emptiness was exposed. Now, they shout to be heard, but your response doesn't come. They provoke, manipulate, throw subtle attacks, but you no longer take the bait. Because you've understood that keeping your peace is more important than winning an argument, that protecting your energy is more valuable than maintaining bonds that only exist because you carry both sides. This new posture is spiritual. It's the reflection of someone who has grown. You're not cold, you're healed. You're not indifferent, you're protected. You're not absent, you're on another level. Chosen one. There were moments when betrayal tried to redefine who you were. Wounds left by those close to you, cold gestures from those who claimed to love you, venomous words spoken by those who were supposed to protect you. On many days, you look back and ask yourself, why? What did I do to deserve this? But the question was never about deserving. The truth is that betrayal was part of the script not to destroy you, but to free you. The people who betrayed you were not simply hurting you, they were unknowingly pushing you toward your calling. Many times, it's necessary to be broken on the inside in order to finally stop trying to fit into spaces that can no longer hold what God is forming within you. Betrayal was not the end, it was redirection. You were betrayed because you trusted, and you trusted because you were pure, and that purity is still in you, only now it is mature. Now it comes with discernment, with boundaries, with wisdom. Today, you don't shut yourself off out of fear. You take a stand with clarity. What hurts you no longer has authority over who you are becoming. The pain they tried to cause you no longer speaks into your present. And those who underestimated you have no place in your destiny. God allowed you to see the truth so you would stop building where there was only sand. And now, He is leading you into a new territory, one where your roots can grow without fear, where your essence will be celebrated and not merely tolerated, where your light won't be drained, but magnified. Yes, you were betrayed, but you were not defeated. Yes, you were wounded, but you were not disqualified. On the contrary, you were set apart to live something greater than any pain you endured. And nothing, absolutely nothing, can steal the destiny that was written for you long before any of this ever happened. Chosen one, when God decides to act, no argument, no resistance, no manipulation can stop His movement, and that is exactly what is happening now. The time of waiting has come to an end. What was withheld, what seemed stuck, What they made you believe would never come is now being released. But this release is not only material, it is spiritual, it is emotional, it is existential. It is the reward that comes not just in response to your prayers, but in response to your character. You chose to remain when everything said to give up. You stood firm when everyone else walked away. You kept serving, loving, believing, even after the falls, the silences, the betrayals. And heaven recorded every moment. The reward is not coming as payment, it is coming as justice. It is not the fruit of merit, it is the fruit of faithfulness. It is not bought, it is released. And what has been released over your life, no one will be able to stop it. You can feel it in your spirit. A different kind of lightness, a silent certainty, a clarity that doesn't come from logic, but from revelation. And this is just the beginning. Because God doesn't release a blessing halfway. He finishes what he starts, and the harvest that is coming now is abundant, visible, and undeniable. Those who tried to slow you down will no longer be able to keep up with your pace. Those who wanted to shrink you will no longer be able to reach you. And those who mocked your faith will now see what it means to trust even without seeing. You don't need to run. Just walk in obedience. The reward is coming to you with precision, with honor, with presence. The door that opened it was God who turned the key. And when God turns doors in heaven, he closes cycles on earth. Chosen one, if you've made it this far, receive this as confirmation. God's justice has not failed. It was simply waiting for the perfect time, and that time is now. Everything you endured in silence, everything you held back between tears and prayer, everything you overcame without anyone seeing is now being weighed on heaven's scales. You are no longer the same. And it's not because the world changed, it's because you were transformed from the inside out. Those who laughed at your pain will witness your healing. Those who ignored you will witness your rise. Those who tried to stop you will see that no one can block a destiny written by the hand of God. You no longer need to explain yourself. You no longer need to defend yourself. You are being lifted up not because of the strength you showed, but because of the faith you held onto when everything seemed to fall apart. This message wasn't just a script. It was a spiritual mirror. It was the confirmation your soul was asking for. And now, the question is no longer, will it happen? The question is, how do I keep my faith steady while everything begins to unfold before the eyes of those who doubted? You were not born to prove anything. You were born to embody the promise. You were not chosen to fight. You were chosen to reign. And your light, now restored, doesn't ask for permission. It simply shines. And if all of this spoke to you, if something deep within your spirit was stirred by this message, leave a comment saying, "I was preserved to be revealed." That declaration is not just a phrase, it's a seal, a visible record of an invisible stance. You are not reacting to this world, you are being repositioned by another kingdom. And if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, subscribe now. Because this was not the last message heaven has prepared for you. It was just another page in a calling that is being activated. You are being revealed now because the world needs your light.